Welcome back to Watch Party Wednesday. I'm BJ Kissel, joined this week by Mitch Holthus, Matt McMullen. We're going to rewatch the Chiefs-Ravens game back in Week 3. Mitch, how are we doing? This is your first experience here with the Watch Party Wednesday. How excited are you?
I'm fired up, man. I feel like I need eye black or something. Run around the house like 5 times. Feel like I'm at a game day. Near like Weird Wolf. Giving me the decibel up because he's in this game about 50 times. CBS kept showing him. But yeah, I'm ready to go, guys. Let's do it.
All right, Matt, how are you feeling about our second go with this?
I feel good, BJ. This is fun. This is a lot of fun. You think about it, these are really the 2 best teams in the AFC all season long. Yeah. We didn't know how good Baltimore was when this game happened. And you think about this being one of only 2 losses on the year for them. Pretty exciting game. Looking forward to watching, especially that 23-point rally we had in the second quarter.
Yeah, this is going to be a whole lot of fun. Both teams came into this game 2-0. Matt, as you mentioned, these 2 teams finished 26-6 in the regular season. And no disrespect to the Titans or the Patriots, but it felt like these were the 2 best teams in the AFC throughout the season. And it kind of stinks they played this early in the season, obviously knowing that they didn't get a chance to meet in the playoffs. But you look at this game, the Ravens went into this game having outscored their opponents 82-27 in the first 2 weeks of the season. And you look at the Chiefs, they came in 2-0 coming off the win in Oakland, but they didn't have Eric Fisher in this game. They did not have Tyreek Hill in this game, and they didn't have Damian Williams in this game. So, Mitch, when you look at this game from Baltimore's perspective, you look at it and thinking back, you see the 4th down attempts, you see the aggressiveness, the 2-point conversion attempts that we just got to see. This is who the Ravens are. This is how they've always been under John Harbaugh.
Yeah, but against the Chiefs, it feels like they're even more that way. I mean, they went for it on 4th down 4 times in this game, and they made 3. They went for it during the season 24 times, to your point, and converted 17. That's 71% of the times the Ravens went for it in 4th down and made it. But what made this game truly unique was they went for it for 2-point conversions 3 times. And as we go through the game, you'll see the circumstances. But that decides the game. The Chiefs stop them on all 3 2-point conversion attempts. If they make all 3, Ravens 34, Chiefs 33. Instead, they blank out on all of them, and it kind of dictated the flow of the game because it threw the game off numerically for John Harbaugh.
Yeah, and Matt, as if the Ravens needed any more pressure on them going to Arrowhead Stadium to try to keep up with the Chiefs, not getting those 2-point conversions, but really felt like the Chiefs in the second half particularly got ahead and put the pressure on the Ravens offense and Lamar Jackson to try to make plays, which conversely also set up the Chiefs defense an opportunity to make plays to try to win a game against the big team.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you think about the league MVP, Lamar Jackson, in moments where you're trailing on the road against a really good team in the Chiefs, you need him to step up and make plays, particularly with his arm. We see Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs and the Super Bowl, league MVP last year, of course, stepping up, making plays, leading the Chiefs back. The Ravens needed Lamar Jackson to do that, and this Chiefs defense stood up several times and made sure he couldn't over and over in the game to make sure they held on to that advantage. So big game by the Chiefs defense here, containing this Ravens offense and Lamar Jackson.
And BJ and Matt, if I could just dovetail on that, this game became a bit of a precursor of their problem that they had against the Titans because they didn't trail much. The Ravens hardly trailed all season long. Mm-hmm. They get down in this game 23-6, and you could see some discomfort with them. But this game was almost like that Titan game in the playoffs. The other thing was Lamar Jackson only completed 7 passes out from the numbers to the hash. All of his completions, for the most part, were in the middle of the field. The Titans took that away from him. The other thing is only 7 completions to wide receivers, and 6 were in the 4th quarter. This was all tight ends and running backs with him, which for the next step for Lamar Jackson to dovetail on his MVP season is to figure out a way to complete those deep routes outside the numbers, because it was big in this game. He missed these. They tried to shoot it down the field outside and couldn't hit him.
Yeah, I think when he had to push the ball vertically down the field on go routes or anything that there's no depth perception is when he ran into issues. We saw it with seam routes. We saw it, Mitch, as you mentioned, with some of those vertical routes. Looked it up. He just went, I've got the numbers here. was going to bring it up later in the show, but talking about Lamar Jackson, just 5 of 17 on throws beyond 10 yards down the field in this game, according to Pro Football Focus, and something that definitely showed up when they get down by 2 or 3 possessions in the second half. It was a little bit of an issue. And Darren Forbes, to answer your question in the chat room, yes, we are going to watch the game. But guys, the 2 things that we're going to throw it to the kickoff here in a second.
What else has he got to do? Come on, dude.
We're extending this as long as we can, Darren. We appreciate Chase for jumping in there and answering their question. But again, keep the comments going in the comment section there on YouTube. We are checking it out. We will answer some of your questions as we go through this. But also, we are going to be giving away 5 copies with codes to the Madden video game. So make sure that you're following along in the chat room, and we will pick 5 winners and figure out how to get those codes to you so you guys can get a little prize for watching us here on Watch Party Wednesday. But guys, the 2 things I was really surprised at, or things that I liked, I should say, from this game, you get to see Patrick Mahomes' ability, not just to throw the ball all over the field, but to really alter the velocity on throws to hit different windows. Some of the checkdowns, the swing passes, the throws to the running backs seem like very simple passes, but to hit a guy in stride so he doesn't have to break his momentum allows him to get those yards after the catch, that I think is something that we don't give him enough credit for because we're so enamored with his ability to deliver the ball down the field with the crazy throws. But some of the simple ones, he's so good at those too, and those shouldn't go unnoticed, and we'll draw attention to those in this game. But then the other thing defensively, we're Tyrann Mathieu and Frank Clark. We saw those guys in the playoffs become closers to close out some of the biggest games of the season, including the Super Bowl. And this is all the way back in week 3 going into the fourth quarter. A couple of the biggest moments and one of the biggest drives for the Ravens in that game that they had to settle for a field goal. Ended up having to settle for a field goal because Tyrann Mathieu made a play in the end zone because Frank Clark got a sack. So we'll draw attention to that as well. But right now we're going to get this game started. So we're going to go with a little kickoff here in 3, 2, 1, go. And here we go with Watch Party Wednesday, Week 3, Chiefs, Ravens. This one should be a lot of fun. Mitch, Matt, let's have a little fun right here.
Let's do it.
All right, Chiefs get the ball to start. And one of the things I love about this first drive is you get the chance to see Andy Reid and kind of how he takes care of that offensive line. Knowing Eric Fisher's not in right here, Cam Erving gets beat off the edge. Patrick Mahomes has to scramble, so you give credit to Patrick Mahomes for scrambling, but Cam Erving gets beat. So what do they do on the next play? Andy Reid, a little deception in the backfield with a play action, get him outside of the pocket. It's a 2-man route. They have a 9-man protection. You saw you saw a couple of the receivers there giving protection. Demarcus Robinson goes deep, hits Travis Kelce across the middle for a big gain right there.
One thing in this game, too, is when I reviewed it, was Matt Judon, I think, was trying to kill Mahomes single-handedly in this game. There's some big-time hits he avoids, does Mahomes, or takes. And, wow, I mean, this is the NFL's best defensive team, arguably, and you're not in this game. You don't have the guys that you mentioned, including Fisher, who had his first non-start other than the Denver game when Mahomes did it back in the end of 17. This is since 2015. He didn't start this game, and it shows up.
Yeah, that intentional ground they called right there. They neglected to mention that the defensive back completely took Kelce out of the play and shoved him into another receiver. The 2 guys went down, but they're in field goal range. The big sack on 3rd and 15 takes them out of field goal range. They're forced to punt. That was a big play for the Ravens right there.
Yeah, and
BJ, we have to back up a bit and acknowledge that sidearm throw to Sammy Watkins. That was ridiculous.
And for McCole Hardman having such a big game, he jumped on that fumble. I mean, that was a fumble. We didn't see the replay. That was a great job by McCole Hardman to get in there and get the ball.
And his arm angles in this game are exceptional. Like, we'll see the 2-minute drill at the end of the half. You were talking about his ability to move around, but his arm angles are important against this team specifically because of their defense.
Yeah. You think about the last 2 years, his arm angles against the Ravens. His first no-look pass against the Ravens a couple years ago. And then, of course, this game.
There's one of those vertical passes where there's not a lot to throw, maybe just overthrowing it and throwing it away. But seems like he's off by 10 or 12 yards on a few of those throws. You can see Mark Ingram. Guy runs hard. There's one thing that's pretty good about this game. Yeah. Again, this was a Ravens offense that came into this game leading the league in points per game, and a Ravens defense that led the league, allowing just 13.5 points per game. They were allowing just 2 yards per carry against them. Right there, again, you see Mark Ingram just lowering his shoulder on Darren Lee, picking up that first down. This is really a very vintage for what the Ravens were offensively drive for them here to start this game. Another vertical pass little bit too much on that one for Hollywood Brown. Hard guy to overthrow.
And BJ, as we'll see later, what the Ravens are doing here, you're right, this is their bread and butter. It's very effective on this drive, but when they fall behind, this style of play is it's tough to come back with it. We saw it in their loss to the Titans too in the playoffs.
Yeah, particularly when they get down this game 23-6. But it also shows you the difficulty of defending these guys. You're playing usually a quarterback hands off and 9 block 11. In this play, you got 10. I mean, you got guys 10 blocking 11, and the 11th guy runs it. And it's Lamar Jackson, one of the best athletes on the planet. It's why they are so hard to defend.
It's also fun going back and watching these games, seeing Juan Thornhill running around and making plays, just getting excited knowing that he's going to be healthy. He's going to get a chance to come back. But here's Lamar being Lamar.
Yeah. This is crazy.
And it was the effort on that play that gave him a 4th and 2 that probably enticed Harbaugh to go for it if Lamar Jackson didn't have an opportunity to make that kind of play. If he only picks up a couple yards there, 4th and 8, they probably just kick the field goal. They don't think about going for it on 4th down.
Mm-hmm.
Jackson on 4th down. Steps. Jackson has the angle.
Yeah, what can you do there? It's tough to defend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they get up, and Mitch, this is where Mark Ingram just kind of capping off a good first drive for the Ravens and kind of sets up an interesting scenario that you talked about early in the game with the 2-point conversions and just kind of this whole scenario that took place over the last couple minutes, because they have a lot of momentum right here with the touchdown, but it feels like they maybe lost a little momentum with what happens with the extra point here and then going for 2.
A missed PAT, whether it's a kick or go for 2, takes the zing off the touchdown. The music doesn't sound quite as loud when this happens. Now, they have a penalty here to decide. I don't know if they were going to go for 2 initially, but Chris Jones covers up the long snapper, and so they have to make a decision here. And Harbaugh's like, well, let's go ahead and go for 2 because that's the rule. You either kick the 33-yard PAT here. Chris Jones lines up wrong.
Yeah, and that 2-point conversion right there, you can give Derek Nottie, Frank Clark a lot of credit, but Daniel Sorensen's really the one who jumped up and took the outside, basically had outside contain, keeps his outside shoulder free, forces Lamar Jackson to come back inside, and then Nottie and Frank Clark cleaned it up. That was a great play by Daniel Sorensen. He won't get any credit for that.
No, and if Jackson gets to the outside like he did on the touchdown, you got, I mean, before to set up the touchdown, you got no shot. But here's the other thing about Frank Clark in this. He loops around real wide on the conversion play on this drive, but then he recovers to make the 2-point play. And I thought that was impressive, because we saw Matthew and Clark recover in this game after having plays where they had struggled.
It's a great throw. That's one of those throws we're talking about, just his ability to place that over the linebacker. Talking about that early during the intro. Just his ability to manipulate the velocity. When you use phrases, especially going into draft, you hear the draft people talk about arm talent. And that's not arm strength, it's arm talent. It's the ability to throw the ball, know where it's going, take velocity off, put velocity on, and knowing how to manipulate the angles and how to get the ball to certain guys in certain situations. And it happens with Travis Kelce a lot, the way that he comes open. That's just a dart right there across the middle. But some of these throws over the linebackers in front of the safeties that Mahomes has should get a lot more credit. And that one right there, hitting Darrell Williams in stride, allow him to not break his stride as he's running down the field, pick up yards after the catch is another good example of it right there. And another
huge day overall for Darrell Williams in this one. And Shady McCoy. Both running backs played really well in the receiving game today.
Yeah, Shady McCoy, a lot of people talking about just him being inactive in the playoffs and not getting opportunities. But you look back at this game, gave them the opportunity to play those playoff games at home if they don't win this one. And McCoy had 11 touches for 80 yards and a couple of touchdowns. It was huge. And speaking of huge, this play right here, Mitch, you were talking about this one earlier in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And back to McCoy. This was his best game. We know things got a little tough for him later on in the year, but if they don't have McCoy in this game, I'm not sure they win it. But
yeah, that was the horse collar tackle on Patrick Mahomes. Just a huge penalty on 3rd down.
I mean, this is a big play. But what? I mean, you're not going to show the replay here, but Judon, this is way after the play, and takes him down. I mean, it's like he tried to leg whip him and take him down to knock him out for the season. We also earlier saw McPhee's play on the roughing the passer. It's 2 big plays on this drive, but both with unnecessary roughness on the Ravens. It's like they were going in like, we're going to take him out of the game.
Yep, and there's the touchdown to cap off that drive. Again, to Matt extend the second quarter streak. It seemed like, back in the week before in Oakland, they just explode in the second quarter, and they picked up that second quarter momentum right here.
Yeah, I don't know what it was about the second quarter early in the season, but 28 points, like you said, against Oakland the week before in the second quarter. Then after being shut out in the first quarter in this game, they exploded for 23 points. That was the first touchdown of a few more to come. The second quarter, this team, they loved him.
Yeah, this is another big drive for the Ravens. You get to see their aggressiveness, but the one play on this drive is the third down. It's the one right after here that really stands out to me. When you talk about Tyrann Mathieu and the ability that he has to diagnose plays and know what's coming, you see him as soon as they line up here on third down, he ends up tackling Mark Andrews short of the first down. But if you see the way that he reads the play, we saw examples of this. See him at the 40. See how he comes and sits right there and he helps Ben Neiman make this tackle. I don't know if Mark Andrews gets stopped short right here. And they end up having to challenge it because the ref gave him a ridiculous spot and gave him the first down. They have to challenge it. They move it back. But when you watch this replay, if you see where Tyrann Mathieu starts, the replay, right, see where Tyrann Mathieu is, and he just comes and sits across the middle because he knows tendencies, he knows where they want to go with the football, and those are the kinds of things you see him pointing to his helmet late in the season that we saw glimpses of it early in the season, and that was a perfect example right there. We see another one in the fourth quarter that I'll draw attention to, but again, just the little things that Mathieu does, and it's going to get forgotten because they go for it on fourth down right here. They pick up the first down, but that play from Mathieu is one of those are plays that winning teams make. And we saw glimpses of it early in the season where he stepped up in big situations.
I love the reaction of Big Red on that spot. Like, really? You got to be kidding. I mean, that might have been the worst spot of the NFL season, quite honestly.
Mitch, I know better than to get you started on ball spotting and all the technology, and I'm not going to get you going on that one.
Yeah, please don't. That might be something we do get in place by the 2020 season. Let's hope.
BJ, it's worth mentioning to your point about the defense.
Xavier Williams, get down the field. Love it.
This defense, after allowing the Ravens to score on the Ravens' opening drive, the Ravens didn't score again at all until midway through the third quarter.
Yeah, right here, this is a good example. The fourth down play, we saw in crucial situations, Spags brought pressure. When they had to throw a pass or when there were big situations in this game, he brought the house, got the ball out of Lamar Jackson's hand quickly, and that ended up being a huge play in this game for the Chiefs. And Matt, Mitch, you talk about McCole Hardman, and we get to see an example right here of just, this may be the most impressive reception of his season.
This is minus,
Patrick, no.
This is the...
No, Patrick, no.
No, stay out of there, stay out of there.
Ow.
This is a 24-yard swing. This goes from minus 10 to plus 14. I mean, this is the first time we saw McCole Hardman really in this game. This is the time we really saw the feeling of the jet. We know the big one's coming, but this play was the first, okay, this kid could be special.
Yeah, and they utilize him in so many different ways, and that was really special. But this next play is the one that's going to be on DeMarcus Robinson's highlight film for a long, long time. They got the look that they were looking for. They got pressure. They got the touchdown. Everybody's going to remember this one-handed catch. But guys, the one thing that I love about this, because it goes to DeMarcus Robinson's development as a player, when you see the replay, his ability on this corner route to attack the inside leverage. You see, when in high school, you run a straight line and then you run to the corner. Right there, he didn't do that. He knew Brandon Clark was playing inside leverage, and not that he just rounded off. He attacked the inside leverage and then broke to the outside on the corner route, which not only created separation with Carr playing cornerback, but it also gave Mahomes space to deliver that football and give him an opportunity to throw that football and not have the defensive back right on him. It's a great example of not only DeMarcus with the one-handed catch and the ball skills, but his ability as a route runner to get inside, playing the inside leverage, swipe across with his hands to create the separation to get up there and make the throw. Great play all around for D-Rob.
It's why it's key to get him re-signed, I think, because you guys talked about him last week in the Oakland game, but that play is a great exhibit A of his explosiveness and his ability to play in the red zone. That's a big-time play to get an 18-yard catch in the red zone and to run the route the way you stated.
Now, guys, I want to talk about the sequence of plays coming up here. Huge run by Gus Edwards. This comes back because of a penalty. Sets the Ravens back with a 1st and 17, I believe, coming up. This was an opportunity for Jackson, like I was mentioning earlier, to step up and make a play with his arm. And as you'll see, the Chiefs defense does not allow him to do it.
Yeah, that's a great job right there. Honey
SWAT
Badger.
team.
Again.
SWAT team. And this is a point in the game where the Ravens, they have to score to keep up. I mean, it's a one-score game, and you can't find anything downfield.
Alex Okafor has no reason to feel bad for that play. I don't think any defensive end's going to make that play in space.
No.
Especially on a second and long.
If you watch this, I mean, you're not able to throw the ball to the sticks, throwing it underneath the tight end, and I believe they punt after this.
Yeah.
And they do. This is a chance for them to even the score, and they couldn't do it. Chiefs defense to keep the momentum going.
Yeah, the previous series was the one time they didn't make fourth down. That's when Ogba made the play. Mm-hmm. And in here, they just can't overcome the holding call. I mean, as you mentioned, it's a big play. But again, when they're faced with that down and distance, it's tough for them to overcome it.
And right here, you're thinking Chiefs 4-minute drill. They work on this all throughout training camp and OTAs. Take off the clock, try to get a field goal or a touch. They go with a couple of runs early, and then all of a sudden they show you how quickly they can score. And they don't need necessarily Tyreek Hill to stretch the top of a defense.
No, watch Hardman on this play. Just running straight through the zone. Patrick Mahomes finds him on a rope, and he's gone. Looked it up. At this point in the season, this was the fastest touchdown of the year. Hardman reached 21 miles per hour, according to Next Gen Stats, on this play. And this is, I think, the second touchdown of McColl's career with the Chiefs. He averaged 47 yards for touchdowns this season. That's just receiving touchdowns. You factor in his 104-yard kickoff return. It's over 50 yards per touchdown. Incredible rookie season for him.
But it's like it's stunned, Matt, it's like it stunned the Ravens DBs, though. They're like, wait a minute, Tyreek Hill's not playing in this game. He's out. He's inactive. Is he over there in the sweats? And when this happened, it was like the Ravens DBs were freaked out, like they got another guy like him.
Yeah, and right now we've got a question.
Mahomes here with him. It's amazing.
We've got a question from the comment section. Matt O. He likes to get the commenters' reaction. Even though Mahomes had fewer stats this past year than 2018, wasn't he already a much better player? Mitch, I've heard you talk about this multiple times. I'll let you take this one.
This game is a great example. It's an awesome question because we talked about it all throughout. People said he didn't have as good a year. He didn't have 5,000 yards and 50 touchdowns. This was a gutted-out game. This was Mahomes showing the guts that he needed to take the next step as a quarterback. He makes plays against this defense without his left tackle, without arguably his number one running back, and without Tyreek Hill, and just kind of fights his way through this game. This is a perfect example of his next step as a quarterback that he took.
And this is another one of those opportunities, Matt, that you talked about earlier. 2-minute drill, down by 14. They've got to throw the ball. How far can they get down the field? How are they going to do this? How comfortable does he look in these situations? And we're getting an opportunity to see that right here.
I mean, look at the pass rush. Look at Chris Jones bringing him down here. Also, BJ backing up a bit. That pass to Willie Snead a few plays ago, that was the first completion to a wide receiver for Jackson on the day. We're almost to halftime. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. And that was the crowd noise. Jackson took an unnecessary hit right there on the false start because nobody could hear the whistles being blown. Can't imagine it's going to make your coaches real happy. And that's an opportunity right there. The sidearm fastball to Justice Hill, trying to set up a screen. It's a tough catch to make. And those little catchable passes, when we talk about Mahomes being so good at them, that you kind of forget about that.
The pressure again. Emmanuel Ogbah coming in.
Yeah.
You can quiet the crowd if you make plays.
Setting up a 3rd and long. They've got the seam route. They've got exactly what they want right there, and just misses them on that vertical pass. Again, Lamar Jackson, 5 of 17 on throws beyond 10 yards for just 120 yards in this game. Whereas conversely, Patrick Mahomes, 8 of 13 for 229 yards and 2 touchdowns on passes beyond 10 yards. And again, we're talking about a Ravens defense that ranked number 1 in the league, giving up just 13.5 points per game coming into this. They had 43 quarterback pressures in their first 2 games, and the Chiefs are without their left tackle and a banged-up Andrew Wiley.
Wow. That's the difference in the end.
Yeah.
I think, the Chiefs' ability to score fast, they score a field goal in this drive as well, if I recall.
This is a giant 2-minute drive. This is a giant 2-minute drive. This was, think about it, set up the great 2-minute game-winning 2-minute drive the next week against Detroit. But this was an incredible job by Mahomes in dealing with this.
Who makes that throw? Like, that is not an easy throw. He's throwing sidearm, dropping sidearm, and now here again. Like, this is Demarcus Robinson's best play of the year. And guys, when I watch this, I just see all these liars on the sideline. I'm sure they're all good people. I'm sure these Ravens coaches are nice guys, but they're all immediately like calling incomplete where they have this beautiful catch. Look at this, an unbelievable catch right in front of it. Instead of just appreciating beautiful football right in front of their eyes, they're immediately calling no catch. I can't trust any of those guys. They're all liars in my book.
I see it though every week on those when I watch the game tape like this, when I review it, the opposing sidelines just like flipping out because what did they just do? And because, I mean, the Ravens, this 2-minute drive is gigantic for setting up the whole time score situation for the second half. To go down and get these 3 points is enormous.
It's third down and big situation. Third down, big situation. Who are you going to go to? Zone coverage. Travis Kelce finds the opening in the zone. That's a tough angle to appreciate this throw to get it over that first level of the defense. If they showed the end zone angle, you'd see just how impressive that was. But you got to take a little velocity off, set him up to make that throw. And here's another just ridiculous play that DeMarcus really wants to have back. Getting a chance to catch that touchdown. In other words, the holding penalty. But just they can strike so quickly. And Matt, you say we had another question?
Only one of 3 holds on Schwartz all year was this game. He gets another one against Houston a couple weeks later, but this doesn't happen very often to Schwartz get calling for holding.
Yeah, question from the comments from Luke Cotton. Will Mahomes get even better next season? Already has an NFL MVP, Super Bowl MVP. Can he get better?
Yes. That guy, you talk to him after these biggest games, he's going to tell you the 1 or 2 protections he missed, the 1 or 2 throws that he missed, the 1 or 2 times where he may have gotten a look that he didn't remember. This guy is hungry. He's only going to get better. We've never seen anything like this to the start of any NFL career, that we need to not normalize it. We need to not make it seem like this is a normal thing. We need to appreciate every step of the way because it is special. And that was a quick halftime. Guys, we're already into the third quarter as the Chiefs took the lead into halftime. And the Ravens, they come out. That's what good teams do. They come out with a good drive.
There's 2 teams in the league that just say, well, we're down 23-6. We're just going to pound it at you. The Titans and these guys. Harbaugh didn't care. He goes, I've got to somehow kind of flip the feeling of this game. And 9 plays on this drive, 8 runs, and it's all just slam, bam, thank you, ma'am. That's the way the Baltimore Ravens are. That's part of their personality.
Sometimes you just give the other team credit, too. This is why they're good. This is what they do. Too many missed tackles. Those guys aren't going to be excited to go back and watch this one. But when you play good teams, they throw punches.
Yeah, and they just get business. They just line up and punch you in the mouth.
The key here, though, is just too little too late. At this point in the game, they're trailing by too much, and they couldn't convert the 2-point conversions, as you said earlier, Mitch. They're running the ball effectively, but the Chiefs' big second quarter has made it too much for them to overcome.
They're still thinking about trying to change the game here. At least it's like Harbaugh is thinking, okay, we're going to set the tone for the rest of the season by doing it on this drive. And then the Chiefs, I mean, they get a stop. They get what they wanted, but then a huge defensive series coming up here for Kansas City.
Hayden Hurst just recently got traded, was part of that trade, I believe, to the Atlanta Falcons, as they loaded up on tight ends there for a while with Mark Andrews and Nick Boyle and Hayden Hurst. But then they get the touchdown. Mark Ingram, I don't appreciate that. And I'm kind of happy that you tripped and fell as you got to the apron on the sideline, as you're disrespecting the Arrowhead logo like that. Just good downhill football. Is a great block by Willie Snead out on the edge there on Bashaud Breeland. He's able to get into the end zone. And they cut it. This is where they get a little momentum, guys. They cut it to a 2-possession. I wish they would have kept showing that when he fell down. You throw the ball at logo, I'm going to root for you to fall down in that situation.
Their opponents on the ground over the last 10 games. And now Mark Ingram is a part of it in his 3rd game in a Baltimore uniform. Baltimore's rushing 23.
BJ, if I recall, you were down on the field. This was a pretty rainy, at least morning, wasn't it?
Yeah, this is early in this game. You did not think that the field was going to be in as good of shape as it is. That was a great job right there by Travis Kelce down the field to block. But on that shot right there, you can see it from behind from Mahomes that it was raining at this point. But you got to give Travis Hogan and his crew a whole lot of credit because it was the weather was not great leading into this game. But being down on the sideline, granted, there's a crown on the field that kind of has the field drain. But I felt like those guys did a phenomenal job at getting this field in good playing conditions. So you could see like LaShawn McCoy and Darrell Williams, when they do those one-cut zone runs, that they weren't slipping a whole lot. They still had some traction, the ability to kind of plant and get upfield. This is a 3rd and short and a 4th and short execution that Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes aren't going to be real thrilled about going back to this, but just more momentum.
Effect. We take for granted these shotgun snaps. We act like it's flossing our teeth, but the rain, I think, started to affect it because it looked like the ball maybe slipped in Ryder's hands when he snapped this ball in one.
This was a big part of the game, if you think about it. The Ravens have just scored. They've stopped us and gotten the ball back on a 4th down. They have a chance here to really put a dent in this lead, and I believe this is a 3-and-out for the Chiefs defense.
Yeah, and I feel like this is where they bring pressure. This is one of those big 3rd downs we're talking about where they just bring the house. He gets the ball up quickly, and Emmanuel Ogbah does a great job getting his hands up to bat it down. And, guys, I'm a little surprised they punted right here. With as aggressive as they were early in the game, they've got a little momentum. They're at midfield, whereas they were going for 4th down. It seemed like on their own 35. Was a little surprised they punted here down 10, knowing you're playing with fire, giving the Chiefs too many opportunities to make it a 3-possession game.
But the offensive linemen, if you watch this tape really close to the video, they all look to the sideline, BJ. They think they're going to go for it. They're going 4th and 5. We go for it on 4th down every time in this game. They all look to the sideline expecting to go for it.
And the Chiefs smell blood in the water. First play, chunk play. This throw right here is a ridiculous throw. Like, to throw off your foot like that, that's a baseball type of throw, turning two, whatever you want to call it. But just like that, couple of plays, and the Chiefs are in striking distance. Darrell Williams just lowering his shoulder to get the 1st down right there. Good physical downhill football. Love to see that. But just like that, the Chiefs are in striking distance. You give them an opportunity, you don't take advantage, you don't stay aggressive.
People want to know why Mahomes was better. This drives another example. He shows some real poise here because the momentum has switched. But he's like clockwork on it. He goes, no, we're going to go down and get this. This is an enormous drive. But he makes play after play after play. This is where his arm angle changes, too, on several times.
Yeah, and Matt, you talked about the Ravens not being able to overcome big penalties. Now here's a chance for the Chiefs offense. You got the holding penalty was called on Travis Kelce. It's how can the Chiefs offense overcome those penalties? The throw right there to Byron Pringle on the outside.
Yep.
BJ, I love the excitement in your voice when Mahomes makes some of these throws.
It's stupid.
Ridiculous.
Like, ridiculous throws. Spread them out, 3rd and 6. They bring pressure. They bring the house. Get the offensive pass interference called here along the sideline. Another one of the big penalties. There are a handful of big penalties by the Ravens in this game, this being one of them. But, again, it's the Chiefs taking advantage of just, again, blood in the water. Again, the Ravens had the ball at midfield. They were driving. They had all the momentum. They decided to punt, give the Chiefs offense the ball back, and you give them too many opportunities, they're going to make you pay.
Well, that's what was odd about this game. They had been riverboat gambler. Let's go for 2 and go for 4th down, and then they didn't go for it on that 4th and 5, and it opened the door for this scoring drive. But
yeah, again, keep the comments going in the YouTube section. Again, we're giving away the codes for 5 Madden video games from this. Make sure you've got the comments going. We're going to ask a question to get it going. Just what was your favorite moment from the Chiefs 2019 season that you can't say winning the Super Bowl? But from the regular season, give us your favorite moment, and we'll go through and pick some, figure out a way to get in touch with you and give some Madden games away. But if you're going to call a screen, Mitch, in that situation, you want to do it when they're bringing pressure off the left side. They bring pressure off the left side, and just the C parts. It all opens up, and there's nobody there for the touchdown. Great play call from Andy Reid.
Andy Reid he's the master of screens. But sometimes you got to get a little lucky, and if your screen goes opposite the way of the pressure, then it's big. However, this is another great game, and why Andy Reid is brilliant, because you must have a screen game against these guys. Whether they bring extra guys or just those monsters they have up front, your screen game has got to be effective, and that's one of the better scoring screens all year.
Yeah, and you look at that, again, that flow, just talking about the The Ravens offensive drive to the Chiefs defensive drive, or excuse me, the Ravens offensive drive to the Chiefs offensive drive. They have the ball at midfield. They have all the momentum. They decide to punt, give the Chiefs the ball back. They drive down and get a touchdown, and now they're in a much bigger hole. And look what happens. They force Lamar Jackson to have to throw the football down 17, and it's hunting season.
The athleticism there by Agba to jump in the air, gather himself, and still sack Lamar Jackson of all people is insane.
And again, it just becomes they get it down a distance where they just can't overcome it here. It's just not a deal.
That throw right there was his best throw of the game. 3rd and 11, stands tall in the pocket, delivers it down the field to Hollywood Brown. That was Lamar Jackson's best throw of the game.
He gets hot here in the fourth quarter now. He kind of changes it up. This becomes the Lamar Jackson of October, November, I think, in this fourth quarter.
It's a few throws, too, that I don't know how many times you complete them if you do it 10 times. But, yeah, there were some pretty incredible throws by him in this fourth quarter.
Speaking of incredible runs, that's just physical football. That's just Mark Ingram. Sometimes you tip your cap. You want the guys to make that tackle, but he's one of the best in the league at situations just like that, and that's a good example of why. And these guys just driving down the field. I see Jake Pry need that game on PS4. Quarantine got me going crazy. Jake, figure out a way either on Twitter or Instagram to reach out to the Chiefs, and we'll make sure somebody takes care of you right there. In 3rd and 5, bringing pressure. Lamar throwing off his back foot. Guess who's right there? Tyrann Mathieu, Honey Badger. Again, pressure from Juan Thornhill. Prayer. And then this freaking play.
Yeah.
Why do you? I mean, 9 out of 10 times that's going to be a pick. It just feels like. And he was fortunate. I mean, so you get by with these sometimes, but this is his first real big downfield throw, and it's.
And I don't know what offensive pass interference looks like, but when you extend your arm to push the defensive back out of the way to make a catch, I feel like that's offensive pass interference. But I'm just here so I won't get fined, so I'm not going to say anything more than that.
I'm not going to say anything, but if I trade it for the Kittle one at the end of this first half of the Super Bowl 54, then I'll trade this one.
Fair. This one was much more egregious than that one.
This is also, guys, where a box score can lie. I mean,
Yep.
It's just the kind of play you don't think it's completed very often. But, you know, it happened, and the Chiefs had to respond accordingly to it.
Yep. And Mark Ingram getting into it again, cutting it down to a 2-possession game. They're still in this one early in the fourth quarter. Chiefs got to make some plays down the stretch. Again, looking back and how the season just kind of unfolded and the home field advantage the Chiefs were able to get in the playoffs, it's because of this game. I mean, this was the 2 best teams in the AFC.
Well, when it got to 30-19, this is what's interesting. He goes for 2 again.
Yeah.
A 1 gives you a 10-point, it's 2 scores. 9 still keeps it 2 scores. He goes for 2, doesn't make it. Now it's 11. So now you have an 8 plus a 3 that you must make a 2-point conversion to tie the game. Yeah. I love John Harbaugh. I think he's great. But this game was a little weird on what he was doing because it does not – you can throw away your card here because every card's going to say kick a 1 to make it 30-20.
Yeah, I thought you were going to ask Harbaugh at the 101 Awards about that decision, but I wasn't there in case you didn't.
I didn't. I forgot about it.
All right.
So
look who it is. Travis Kelce. Strange. Big situation. Got to move the ball. Fine 87.
Great recognition, though, by Mahomes. They were changing coverages here, you guys, and when they changed it, because they were giving Kelce a lot of attention in the first half, but when they didn't, when they changed their coverage, Mahomes' ability to recognize the change in coverage instantly and find Kelce's enormous again.
They're bringing pressure again. It's one of the drops from Sammy, one of those plays that Sammy's going to want to have back.
Yeah,
great throw. All things considered. Guys, we'd be remiss if we didn't mention this. Dustin Colquitt punting here. This game, I believe, made him the Chief that played the most games in a Chiefs uniform. Like 254 games.
Yeah, there's 200.
Dustin Colquitt.
He's the guy, though, the song, You Don't Know What You've Got Till It's Gone. Whatever day he decides to retire, that's when we'll miss him because he just does phenomenal things. But here the Ravens now keep their poise. This gives an indication, too, of what they're like mentally and what their season becomes because they come right back here and at least get a field goal to make it an 8.1 possession game. I mean, they just keep grinding here on this drive.
That was one of his better vertical throws. And there's another, Bashaud Breeland does everything. He's in good position, just doesn't find the ball. But one of those big-time throws from Lamar Jackson in this game. And they try another vertical throw, and again, just too much. Doesn't give his guy a chance in this game, or on that play.
Guys, we have a question from Mitch McGlory. Can we do this every day? What do you think?
Oh, yeah. I'll do this.
I certainly could.
Why not?
We're doing it next Wednesday. You got to join us for another Watch Party Wednesday. I think we're going to be going over the Houston Texans game. So, granted, it wasn't a win, but if you're going to sit here and enjoy these wins, you got to experience the whole gamut of emotions from the season, which means watching all of the games.
What a tackle by Bashaud Breeland.
Big time. This game in specific is a great one to go back and look at because of so many things that happened.
Sorry, Mitch.
Set up
but like,
year.
This guy's pulling his 4th and 9 Mahomes play from the year before. And I don't know about that one, but this gets into that crunch time that we were talking about at the onset, at the beginning of this show. On this second down play, right after he throws it into the first row here. On this second down play, this is the one that we see across the middle where Tyrann Mathieu, again, crunch time. They get a touchdown here. This is a whole different game, but he tries to go across the middle. Tyrann Mathieu reads it, almost gets the interception. He's going to kick himself or not, but watch Frank Clark here on the close side do the little spin move that became kind of his calling card to close out games. He gets the big sack. So again, middle of the fourth quarter, they're trying to make it a one-possession game. And two of the biggest plays, it's Tyrann Mathieu, it's Frank Clark. It's the two guys that Brett Veach and that personnel staff brought in, key free agent guys with the trade with Frank and then bringing in Tyrann as a free agent, stepping up in a huge situation. Again, just kind of foreshadowing what we saw in the playoffs and down the stretch in the regular season. We saw glimpses of it here all the way back in week 3.
But guys, it was their recovery. Remember, Frank got out of his lane early in that first 4th down conversion early in the game. Remember, we saw it. This was one where he stays in his lane and uses all that explosiveness, but doesn't get out of leaving his ocean. He stays in his shark-infested water right there, and his discipline that you've got to have against Lamar Jackson pays off with that sack.
How about Darrell Williams there, guys?
This is I'm loving him in this game, and this is what fans have even forgotten about him. I call him he's back in the crock pot where he's developing and rehabbing from the injury. But this game gives you an indication of the value of Demarcus Robinson, but it really gives you an indication of the value of Darrell Williams.
Mm-hmm. And LaShawn McCoy's impact is too. And we're talking about the running backs, what those two guys were able to do. Again, we talked about a Ravens defense that allowed just 2 yards a carry in the first 2 weeks. And those guys come out and get 140 yards on the ground against that Ravens defense overall. And they're sneaky yards. They're not just handing it off 30 times a game, but when they needed to run the football, they picked up some chunk yards. And you saw it from Darrell Williams. And Mitch, you talked about fans may have forgotten him. You remember going back to training camp a few years ago, we always pick our UDFAs, guys that we love. Who picked Darrell Williams?
I think that was you, Matt did. So way to go. Appreciate you, Matt. Good pick.
I wish I did.
But we forget about the value of these guys, and we forget about some of the moments in these games. I mean, Williams is coming up here again. We also saw Darwin Thompson show some of his fearlessness in this game because he's thrown into it. McCoy's hurt. He's gone for this game, and now it's down to these two guys. And Darwin shows some guts here at crunch time.
Yeah, I think you talk about being able to answer the call. They get it down. They extend the lead to 11 points after that. And it all happened because of that first run from Darrell Williams, that chunk play. We're going to see another chunk play from him to ice the game here at the end. But, yeah, I think his ability to come back, and I know we had the question from Roger Miller of who is the best Chiefs running back for the upcoming season. And that every running back on the roster when you start the season is going to have a game where they make a play. They make a few plays to win a football game. You can see it when you go back and look at the Super Bowl season. So I think it's all of them. I think Darwin Thompson's going to have some moments next season where he steps up and makes some plays. Darrell Williams coming back from his hamstring injury is going to have to make some plays. And then Damian Williams, we know what he can do. We saw it. He was arguably the best player in the Super Bowl for the Chiefs. So I feel like all those guys are going to have to step up at some point.
It's a difficult discussion because you got to tell Chiefs fans maybe don't pick them for your fantasy team, but you want them in the reality game because the way Andy Reid uses them, and we've seen in this game how everybody has to get involved. They're not going to run for 150, but they're going to make the key plays to win a game. That's what a running back has to do in this offense.
This just looks like the Ravens are not comfortable delivering the ball down the field, trying to pick up chunk yards. Again, a few checkdowns, the screen game. And again, we're talking less than 4 minutes to go, down by 2 possessions. And just they're not being able to throw the ball super accurately vertically. Besides that one right there, just phenomenal coverage from Charvarius Ward right there. And Miles Boykin, the rookie out of Notre Dame, that's the reason you draft that kid. I remember studying that kid in pre-draft, 6'5", jump ball, red zone target. Great job by Charvarius Ward right there.
Big time. But they're just uncomfortable in this realm. This is not your normal 2-minute kind of offense with them. And it's not a criticism of them. It's just the way they're built. And I think that they're going to try to change this, meaning the Ravens, in 2020. But you can almost cut and paste the Titans here for the Chiefs, and it's their playoff game. This looks like their playoff game because they're in this mode. They just don't want to be in this mode.
Yeah. We know Ryan Tannehill can't do this, but this is just Lamar being being Lamar. So when Patrick Mahomes is mic'd up and he's like, "Did I look like Lamar?" It's because of plays like that.
Yeah. I mean, how many guys can hit the play?
You stop a 2-point conversion. You keep it at 5. It's not 3. A 3 could tie it. Now it's 5. They have to have a touchdown. They never get a ball back. But still, stopping the 3 2-point conversions, that 6 net points are the difference in this game.
Mitch, talk about the heads up right here to call the fair catch with this drop kick rule. It was one that we all just kind of looked at each other like, did that just happen?
Mm-hmm. I'm sure he didn't go over that at Georgia. Maybe he did. But did Tobe? I mean, if Tobe told him that, it's one of the smartest plays of the whole year. Because he drop kicks this thing.
And speaking of smartest plays of the whole year, right here, 3rd and 9, Mitch, the context and the situation of the game, to call a screen pass right here in this situation is big time. You can see the linebacker just completely run past Darrell Williams right here and just kind of opens up and it seals the game. Huge play call. Great job by Andy Reid.
But so well executed, BJ. It is perfectly timed. Judon looks like he's got it read, but they perfectly time it and block it. It's why the Chiefs are just lethal when they run these screens. But this is a big gutsy call for 14.
Well, Matt did it.
16.
Yep. Chiefs get the win in Week 3, 33-28 over the Baltimore Ravens. Again, just 2 losses for the Ravens in the regular season, this being one of them. I think if this game happens later in the season, at the end of the regular season, I think people remember and talk about this game a lot more. I think from that regard, it's kind of disappointing that it happened so early in the season, which is why you got to love Watch Party Wednesday, guys, because we can go back and we can relive all these moments and know just how good these two teams ended up being at the end of the season. They were the 2 best teams in the AFC.
Matt and BJ, let me give kudos here. You know when I was most impressed with Lamar Jackson?
When's that?
The 101 banquet. He went through every game. He's got the photographic memory like Patrick Mahomes. He knows every play of his last 2 losses to the Chiefs.
Yeah.
He was like throwing them out there that night at the 101. I was looking at the people at my table going, whoa, okay. Yeah. He's got, so that tells you the elite player that he is. It's just some things have to piece together for them, especially 2-minute offense, and then being able to hit plays from numbers to boundary deep, which we know Mahomes can do in his sleep.
Yeah, I think, go ahead, Matt.
Well, I was going to say, you mentioned Patrick Mahomes. I love stats. Patrick Mahomes started the season with this game. 3 straight games, 3 touchdowns, 370 or more yards. So you think about following up your MVP campaign season with 3 incredible games against some pretty good teams like the Ravens. Started things off right in what turned into a championship year.
Yeah, it was funny to listen to the game broadcast and prepping for this and listening to Dan Fouts, say that Mahomes is on pace for 6,000 yards and 50 touchdowns, but he hasn't faced the defense. It's not like he's going to throw for 350 yards and 3 touchdowns against the Ravens. And he didn't. He threw for 374 yards and 3 touchdowns against the Ravens' #1 defense at that time, just showing how good he is. But Mitch, I think the favorite thing that Lamar Jackson said at the 101 Awards, when somebody asked him, I think it was Stacey Dales, is like, you're here surrounded by a bunch of Chiefs fans celebrating the Super Bowl. Like, do you like the rivalry with Mahomes? Do you like playing the Chiefs? And he was just like, no. Like, do you know how many points we have to score to feel like we can win against this guy? You put so much pressure on you to feel like you have to score in every single possession.
Yeah, and I mean, to anticipate the 2020 season, we have to go to Baltimore and play those guys. I mean, it really feels like a Sunday night game somewhere in there. And they'll be ready and waiting. I mean, that team is, and I think, too, with this protocol that we're in now, I tweeted out yesterday, consistency. and also culture and communication will be key. Will the Chiefs check every one of those boxes, and Lamar Jackson, the Ravens, check every one of those boxes? They have a great infrastructure. These two teams, I don't think it's a stretch of the imagination, are your two favorites going in.
Yeah, and you saw what they did this offseason, trading for Calais Campbell, bringing in Derek Wolfe. They're reloading, and they're trying to piece together a team that can come to Arrowhead and beat the Chiefs in January, February, try to get down to Tampa to play in the Super Bowl, represent the AFC. But before we wrap this one up, we want to answer a couple more questions for all our diehard fans that were in the comment section. The question from Jay Quick saying, BJ, how was the atmosphere after the speech by Clark Hunt at training camp? And I think the guys who produced the franchise, Luke Bunna and Dane Van Wy, did a phenomenal job kind of painting the picture and telling the story of that speech in the way that when Clark got up there and said, and that was the first time, Mitch, tell me if I'm wrong, but that was the first time I really heard Clark speak about we're going to the AFC title game, we're going to the Super Bowl, and we're going to bring that Lombardi trophy home to Kansas City. It was the first time I heard him speak kind of in absolutes and that like, this is going to happen. You guys are the team that's going to do it. And you could hear a pin drop in that room. We were all in that room kind of standing on the side off watching the players, and we had the perfect viewpoint of Clark speaking, and that those guys were locked in on every word that he was saying. The video did absolute justice of what that room felt like at that moment.
Yeah, one of the greatest moments of any of the 17 episodes of the franchise was him prophetically standing in front of everybody and saying it. But I still think VJ, because he said it so emphatically, was because of the sting from the season before. He knew he was so close, and one of his dreams was to have the Lamar Hunt Trophy being won by the Chiefs. And that's why I said at the play-by-play, the team that Lamar Hunt founded has just won Lamar Hunt's trophy in the stadium that was Lamar Hunt's dream. That was on Clark Hunt's thought all the time, and I thought that was the real motivation for him saying that, and then to get to Miami and win the Super Bowl. Yeah, it was an awesome moment, actually.
Hey, Matt, I got a question for you. Going to put you on the spot. Randy Reed, did he make his quota selling jet skis at training camp?
I'd say so. I would never doubt Randy Reed.
He put a lot of flyers on the players' dorm rooms that weren't screwed up. I think that's a different story for another time, talking about Patrick Mahomes playing pranks at training camp, moving all the players' door names on their dorm rooms around so no one knew what dorm room was there. So we'll tell that on the next.
Is jet skiing a permissible activity in the stay-at-home protocol? Is jet skiing okay?
I think you stay away from people. And I think anyone who's watched Tiger King out there sees the guy at the end on the jet ski, just a glorious moment of documentaries on Netflix. If you haven't watched it.
First Tiger King reference.
Patrick Mahomes and Brittany were tweeting about it. But, guys, that's all we've got. We're going to wrap up this one again. We're doing Watch Party next Wednesday, talking about the game against the Houston Texans. We appreciate it. Again, everybody, for being in the YouTube comment section. We appreciate all your guys' support. Had a lot of fun with this one. We'll do it again next week. Mitch, Matt, we appreciate it. And we'll see everybody next time.
Prayers for everybody's safety and health.
See you guys next week.